Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. I want to start my program today by issuing a very sincere apology to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and I hope that all of you who are listening and watching will join me in apologizing. Why are we apologizing? Very good reason. His office says that was not a vacation that Trudeau was having in Tofino. And I mean, since nobody in Trudeau's office would ever lie to us, I can only assume that pictures of that couple, that lovely couple, strolling hand in hand along a beach in Tofino, was not a picture of the Prime Minister and Sophie, but rather some interlopers, some actors, perhaps. I'm not sure the purpose. Maybe just a couple of innocent young people strolling the beach. And somehow or other, the media, as it very often does, got it wrong and claimed that this was the Prime Minister. And also, of course, we made a mistake, a grave mistake, in somehow or other saying that his jet, that, Trudeau's jet headed west, when apparently it did not head west. It was here all the time. His office says, and once again I point out that no office, certainly manned by Liberals, would ever lie to us, says that, in fact, it was not a vacation at all, that the Prime Minister spent most of the day on phone conversations with survivors of our residential schools. Now, for obvious reasons, they will not tell us with whom he spoke, and for not quite so obvious reasons, nobody that he spoke with has yet come forward to say that they spoke with the Prime Minister on National Truth and Reconciliation Day. So, and a sincere apology here. Somehow or other, we have been misled. That was not the Prime Minister. That was not Sophie strolling on the beach. It was not a vacation. Not a vacation. His office says it was not a vacation. And very clearly, nobody in a Prime Minister's office lying to us. Of course, it would not happen. So, I wish to offer the apology to our esteemed Prime Minister. And I think that the entire country, that's you as well, deserves to provide a sincere, humble apology to our Prime Minister. I mean, the mere idea that the Prime Minister would not be in his office, his itinerary stated, on office business, blood, sweat, and tears, toiling away. Churchillian, for God's sake, in his office. Anybody who would even suspect that he would not do that on the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, it's beyond comprehension how anybody would think that. So once again, my sincere apology. That was not a vacation. I don't know who it was strolling on the beach, but very clearly it was not Trudeau and Sophie.
So it was one of his drama students then playing the role of Prime Minister in.
No, I think that the media just mistook this.
Oh, okay.
There was also a story that they filmed, and they asked him some questions, and very clearly he did not respond, which indicates to me that whoever it was did not speak English. It would seem to me that if a national news agency asked me a question, I would at least say no comment, but there was no comment whatsoever. So I can only assume that whoever it was strolling on the beach did not understand the English language and thus did not reply. So there's more evidence right there. Now, this whole business about the jet, very disconcerting. I don't understand how people could, not recognize a jet in the air. They claimed, and this is what started the whole thing, that they spotted the Prime Minister's jet heading west. But very clearly it was not. The jet was where it's supposed to be all of the time. And the Prime Minister, as I say, was toiling away ceaselessly, discussing issues, etc., etc. Well, at least 8 of them. They tell us that he made at least 8 phone calls with survivors, etc., and their family members of residential schools. So once again, I just want to apologize and get that out of the way. Now, when we're dishing out comments and kudos to politicians, I think it's time that we admitted that Doug Ford has done a pretty gosh darn good job in battling COVID. Now, for some of you, this will be, I think, a very difficult admission, but he's been subjected to ceaseless criticisms for virtually every decision that he's ever made, and there's no question mistakes have been made. This was new territory, virgin territory for everybody, and mistakes were made at every level, including mistakes by Doug Ford. I'm not denying that. But when you examine the situation as it exists today, you've got to admit that we're in a pretty good position. As a matter of fact, when you examine COVID rates, hospitalization rates, death rates in virtually every other jurisdiction in North America, you got to admit we're among the very best. In fact, our record may be the best in the entire, as I say, North American continent. Certainly very close to it. All you have to do to see what happened to those constituencies that did not have lockdowns, that opened things up very early, is examine what's happening in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and now New Brunswick. I think a lot of people were sort of looking to the East Coast as an example of, people who had really worked this thing well. But do you realize what's happening in New Brunswick? This is your home province, John.
No, 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 no. Ontario is my home province. My wife is from New Brunswick. In fact, she's there right now. She just flew in a little while ago, and yeah, it's
scary.
Things. Oh yeah. The emails they got from the airline just before she and her brother got on the plane. I mean, a lot changed in a very, very quick period of time.
That's the problem with this Delta variant.
Yeah.
One day you're smiling, you're saying, "Oh man, we've beaten this thing," and the next day there's a giant breakout. And this is what's happened in New Brunswick. The average rate of new infections in New Brunswick is now 97 a day. Doesn't sound a lot, but the population of New Brunswick is only about 750,000. If we in Ontario had the same rate of infection as they now have in New Brunswick, we would have about 1,400 new cases every day in Ontario. Wow. Compared to what is it now, the 500 or 600 that we are averaging? Yeah. In other words, the infection rate in New Brunswick today is about 3 times higher than it is here in Ontario. The infection rate, hospitalization rate in Alberta is almost 7 times higher than it is here in Ontario. The infection and hospitalization rate in Saskatchewan is about 4 times higher than it is here in Ontario. The infection rate, and in particular the death rate in the United States, is appalling. In the United States, so far, they're approaching 1 million deaths. One person in every 500 in the United States population has now died. That's 2 per 1,000. If we had the same rate of infection here in Ontario, our death rate to this point is about 9,700, 9,800. If we had the same per capita rate of deaths in Ontario as we have in all throughout the United States, we would have in the range of 30 to 35,000 deaths in Ontario so far, compared to about the 9,700 that we have. So just to give you an example, as I say, you can criticize Doug Ford for any number of things. But by golly, when you examine the results, the infection rate, hospitalization rate, and death rate, you see that we're doing very, very well. We've paid the price. I'm not denying that. There's been a lot of objection and still are objections to masking, distancing, objections to the lockdowns, but they've kept our hospitalization rates down. They've kept our death rates way down compared to almost every other jurisdiction in North America. In fact, many jurisdictions throughout Europe, we are doing better. So we've paid the price, but we're being rewarded for it. Now, in addition to that, when you're handing out kudos to Doug Ford, not very often that parents, by and large, have applauded anything that Doug Ford has done in our schools to this point. But they are applauding now because, as you know, the province, and we're pioneering this in some ways, has decided that we're going to have rapid testing of school children in those areas deemed to be high risk. I'm not sure if that would include Ottawa or not. That'll be up to health authorities to decide. but many parents have been lobbying for this very thing, and they're now finding that their lobbying effects have worked, and immediately we start rapid testing of children in high risk schools, and in addition to that, we are preparing for vaccinations of children aged, I think, 5 to 11, which would include many of the school children. We're already, apparently, according to health authorities, we're ready for vaccinations as soon as vaccines have been approved for children. They're very close to this. The vaccine, apparently, dose for children is about one third what that would be administered to adults. And Pfizer, apparently, right now, and Moderna are just perfecting that and finishing up testing. So, almost immediately, if not immediately, it'll be high speed or whatever you call it testing in our schools, and very soon we will see that our children will be vaccinated. I hope to hell that we don't get all sorts of objections and the picketing of schools over this. And I must also tell you, just when we're talking about some of the, I think, very progressive moves that we're making in this province, booster shots have begun in long term care homes throughout Ontario. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. I know that some of the long-term care homes here in Ottawa, they got booster shots starting yesterday. Um, I think these are all signs of progress. And you can criticize Doug Ford for any number of things, and I'm sure that many of you will. But it's only fair, I think. I mean, you know what? If we had in Ontario, let's say Saskatchewan's record or Alberta's record or the American record or New Brunswick's record of hospitalizations, etc., if we were in that range, you can be damn sure that Doug Ford would be blamed and he would be pilloried. There's no question about it. So now that very clearly things have turned out fairly well for us here, I think it's only fair that he gets some tribute for it, that he gets some credit for things going as well as they are. They could be going better. But when you, as I say, once again, all you got to do is see what's happening, or certainly around the rest of North America. Um, so, as I say, you may have some different thoughts on that. Now, this there's a great debate going in the province and elsewhere concerning booster shots. I see where Israel, which was, as you know, the first to have almost everybody fully vaccinated, is now launching a booster shot campaign for everybody. And here's the reason why. The Delta variant has really thrown a screw into the works. According to the most recent edition of Lancet magazine, so this is not some obscure post in Facebook. This is Lancet magazine, recognized as one of the most, I guess, trustworthy medical publications in the world. Has done a very thorough survey, well over 20,000 people, and what they have found is that for the first 4 months, in particular, the Pfizer shot, and they've only examined the Pfizer shot, for the first 4 months, the Pfizer shot is about 93% effective in preventing infections, but after 4 months, its effectiveness in preventing infections drops to about 52%. Now, the qualifier here is that while the effectiveness in preventing infection drops after 4 months, it is still highly effective in preventing hospitalization. So even after 6 months, this is all they have tested up to 6 months. After 6 months, excuse me, there's still about a 50% chance that you may come down with COVID infection, even though you've been vaccinated twice. But the chances are very, very slim that you will be sick enough to require hospitalization. And as a matter of fact, in the only recent figure that I have in this regard comes from British Columbia, which indicates that 100% of all patients in all BC hospitals, 100% were totally unvaccinated. And about almost over 90% of people requiring hospitalization of any kind were unvaccinated. So when you see figures, there's a good number of people who have been fully vaccinated are still coming down with COVID. Yes, it's true. Not nearly as many as those who are unvaccinated, but still there is a percentage. And this is the reason why after 4 months, you're only protected from infection about 50%. But the big thing here is it's highly unlikely, if you've had both shots, that even after 4 or 6 months, you will be sick enough to require hospitalization. So thank goodness for that. Um, the Lancet article goes on to say that the time may come when we will all need a booster shot. But they say that time has not arrived as yet. There's a growing feeling that by the end of the year and certainly early next year, booster shots will be recommended for just about everybody. And in all probability, in the years to come, we will probably need at least one booster shot a year, so long as we still have large numbers of people who refuse to be vaccinated. If everybody agreed to be vaccinated, or even it was 98 or 99% of people eligible got vaccinated, then we would pretty well wipe the pandemic out and booster shots would not be available. So you can blame, I know this angers some of you, but it's a fact. The data is there. Time and time and time again, we see it around the world. It is the unvaccinated today that are prolonging the pandemic. They're creating havoc as they are in places like Alberta, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick. It's the unvaccinated. And even though if you have been vaccinated and you come down with COVID, you not likely will be sick enough to require hospitalization. So I think as further proof, and I know that we must have some text coming in there, as how serious Ontario is about being vaccinated. It's the story of Rick Nichols. Rick Nichols, until recently, has been the deputy Speaker of the House at Queen's Park. He was originally elected as a progressive conservative under the Ford government, but Ford kicked him out of caucus. Do you know why? Because Nichols refused to be vaccinated. And now he is being kicked out of his job as deputy speaker. And Ford has gone further and said, you know what? If you're not going to become vaccinated, we are not going to allow you to run for the PC party. Good for Doug Ford. This is one of the main criticisms I have, by the way, of Aaron O'Toole. I think that this cost him the election. The fact that he did not insist that all of his candidates be fully vaccinated. As you recall, Trudeau pounded away on this time and time again. He claimed that this was proof that, in fact, O'Toole was not serious about COVID, that he was so unserious about it that he wasn't even insisting that his own candidates be vaccinated. I'm going to tell you something else. As far as I am concerned, I don't think any member of Parliament should sit up there in Parliament unless they have been fully vaccinated. We look to these people, we pay these people a lot of money to provide leadership. We need leadership in this. The idea that people are making laws, including laws concerning vaccines, that people who are making these laws concerning vaccines and others are themselves not fully vaccinated, I find reprehensible. I don't think, and I'd like to get your opinion, I don't think that any member of Parliament from any party should be allowed to sit in Parliament unless they have been fully vaccinated. We need leadership. Leadership starts in the House of Commons. All right, John, we got any comments coming in here? Any text?
We do. We've got a ton. Did you want to get a word in here for Shields first, and then we'll get to the comments?
Shields.
How do you want to do this?
Yeah, we're talking about people who have been very successful. As I say, Doug Ford's campaign against COVID, I think you have to give him credit. Shields is one of those local family-run businesses that has been very successful. And as I have said time and time again, particularly in the Ottawa area and particularly in the Ottawa Valley, if you're not doing business the right way, if you're not honest, above board, very fair pricing, you're not going to do well. You're sure as hell not going to and you're not going to last since 1947, as Shields has done. They have lasted, they have prospered, they have done very, very well because they do business the right way. They're friendly, they give you a warm smile, they give you very, very fair prices, a wonderful assortment, and the website is one of the best I've ever seen. You know what, folks? It's local, it's family operated since 1947. I mean, why would you not at least give them a chance at your business? Why would you want to ship your money off to the United States or Cuba? Well, I don't know if they make appliances in Cuba, but they sure as hell make them in China. So don't ship your money to China. Keep it here in the Ottawa area. Shields.ca. John, up to you.
All right, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm starting to sound like a Christmas song. I'm sorry about that. Keenan is on Facebook. He says, Lowell, 1,000%. It is insane that elected leaders can parade around in indoor spaces without vaccination. We do have a text at 613-413-2217. Lowell, I'm not for sticking up for Trudeau, but he did apologize today, a little too late for me.
No, actually,
I
sorry.
suspect you as well.
No, just a minute. Hold it, hold it, hold it.
Holding it. I'm holding it.
He did not apologize. He said he regretted. He has not apologized. He said, apparently, although there's no proof of this, he claimed, or somebody claimed, that he apologized to a native chief in BC. But so far, he has not apologized to the Canadian public. He says he is sorry, but that's not an apology. I just wanted to set the record straight. Go ahead.
Christy is watching on Twitch. Her comment is, Parliament, set a good example for God's sake. Get vaccinated. A text from Barry at 613-413-2217. He says the McGuinty marauders that work in the PMO have influenced their media friends in Toronto that part of the Trudeau money given to them is to constantly say bad things about the Ford government. Some of the comments from earlier that I've had a chance to cut and paste over here regarding the apology. Valda says, yeah, piss on that apology. Sorry, the non-apology. Lynn says, I've never heard of any protesters for the flu vaccine, yet it's available every winter. Let me see. Murray, you believe everything that the mainstream media tells you. Lowell.
No, I don't. In fact, there's nobody who questions the mainstream media more than I do. Why don't you pay attention? Whoever wrote that, pay attention to what I'm saying here. I have constantly been after the mainstream media. Nobody has criticized the mainstream media more than I and provided evidence of the bias. Why would you say that about me? I mean, come on. I mean, if you're going to criticize me for something that I've actually done, for God's sake. Go ahead, John.
Craig says fully vaccinated people can still catch and spread COVID. Why aren't they losing their jobs?
That's stupid. As a matter of fact, there's no proof that you can spread it. All right, I've already gone through that. After about 4 months, there's about a 50% chance that you can still contract COVID, but you won't be sick enough to go to hospital. You know what? You anti-vaxxers, give it up. Okay, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're costing the country billions of dollars. You've cost billions of dollars before. You have forced lockdowns. You have helped to create deaths. You're prolonging the pandemic. Do the bloody right thing. Get vaccinated and stop trying to convince other people not to be vaccinated. You're a menace. If you are out there promoting hate or disrespect or distrust of vaccines, then you are a menace. Give it up. You're wrong. Get vaccinated. Spare us all, please. Go ahead, John.
Keenan's got your back. He says, I love someone accusing Lowell of following mainstream media. This is the next level of kookery of anti-vax nut jobs. I mean, case in point, Lowell, we're not on mainstream media. Anybody who thinks that you and I are doing this on Blast the Radio and Facebook, etc., that we're mainstream media, no.
No, these anti-vaxxers, some of them, not them all. Some people are just so badly misled. But there are a lot of, I think, almost evil people out there now. And I'm not sure why. Whether they are backed into a corner, they realize the damage that they have done, and are now, like a caged animal or a cornered animal trying to fight back with whatever they've got. I'm not sure what it is. It's a very strange phenomena because anybody with an ounce of common sense or decency understands that the way to put an end to this, the way to save lives, the way to save hospitalization, the way to save business is get vaccinated. Go ahead, John.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
We're seeing, with the Facebook issue on Monday, which just amplified this whistleblower who was featured on 60 Minutes and her claim that Facebook, and you've talked about this too, the money to be made on the side of anti-vaccine and the pushback. How much do you think that plays into?
Oh, I think that they've fed this. All reports are, and this is well documented, that there are about 12 websites that specialize and are making huge sums of money in spreading disinformation and distrust of the vaccine. There's one guy that is Kennedy, and I've seen his website a couple of times. He apparently has about 3 million subscribers, people who follow this. And these are subscribers. I'm not sure how much they're paying, but very clearly he's raking in the millions and millions of dollars. And I suspect that every single one of those that are out there with these websites spreading distrust and lies are doing so because it's making them rich. So these few people are spreading all this disinformation. that's causing deaths. I mean, all kinds of people are still dying. If people were all vaccinated, there would be no deaths or almost no deaths. So yeah, but they're doing this because they're making money, and yet these anti-vaxxers don't seem to catch on. They're so I don't know what it is. You know what? What one of the things that really gets me is the anti-vaxxers. Some of them they go out to hospitals and protest. They protest in front of a doctor's office, and yet where's the first place they go if they get sick? To the very place they were protesting. They say, I don't believe my doctor. I can't trust my doctor. He's telling me to get, I don't believe it. But you get sick. Oh, doctor, doctor. I mean, like, there's no common sense here at all. Listen, you know what? If you don't trust your doctor to give you advice about a vaccine, then get your medical advice from Facebook. You know, don't go to the doctor that you don't trust. If you can't trust your doctor to give you advice on vaccines, then you can't trust him for advice about anything else. The doctor says that you need an immediate operation to save your life. Don't believe him. If you don't believe him about vaccine, why would you believe that? He's lying to you. I mean that it's so stupid that it just defies explanation. Go ahead, John.
We're at a point, Lowell, on this show, I think, where we have more comments than we have time for, which is awesome. So I'm going to try and I'm getting as many up on the screen as I can, but I'm trying to get some
Sure.
first-time
Fire
comments.
away. Fire away.
Georgia, you're a first-time commenter. Let's go with your comment. Trudeau isn't vaccinated himself, probably. He is. And the government website has a weekly update of over 200 people suffering from it, and half of which are serious reactions. Comment from Georgia. Lisa says Trudeau
That's
throws
bullshit. You know what? That's absolute and utter bullshit. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You know what? You're harming the system. You're harming the country. You're harming your fellow neighbors. You're harming your family. Bugger off, with all your damn bullshit. You read some stupid post written by some guy making $1 million and you pass this information on. You're a freaking idiot. Go ahead. I've lost patience. I'm sorry. I've lost absolute patience. These people, you people are a menace out there. Okay. A menace. And there's no other way to describe it. Go ahead.
She posts back saying, no, it's not bullshit.
Oh yeah. Right. What are you basing this on? Go ahead.
Murray follows up with his comment from earlier saying, if not mainstream media, then where are you getting your information from?
Well, I'm getting my information from various medical authorities. Is Lancet magazine mainstream media? I don't think so. Go ahead.
Lisa, Trudeau throws around apologies as often as he parades around in his costumes. Insincere platitudes. Here's a text at 613-413-2217. Yes, I think Doug had a decent effect, but I believe the educated Ottawans and in a lesser percentage amount of Ontarians are to be applauded for learning about the benefits of the vaccines and not just worrying about the low chance of having side effects from it and got the jab.
Yeah.
Let me see.
All I'm saying is that look, if things were as bad in Ontario as they are in Alberta or New Brunswick, you can be damn sure that everybody would be holding Doug Ford responsible. So things are very good comparatively speaking in this province. So it's only fair that he gets some credit. Would you not agree with that? Go ahead, John.
Craig has a warning for you. He says, keep calling people names, Lowell, and you'll lose listeners.
Bullshit. You know what? I don't want you. If you're an anti-vaxxer, I don't want you. You're a menace. You're evil. You're causing death. You're creating havoc. You're causing deaths. You're creating deaths. Some people believe you. You're causing death. People are dying because of your opinions, and I don't want you. You're a person I don't want. I don't want you next to me. I don't want you in the community. I don't want you in the damn country. Sadly, you're there, but I don't want you on the program. Bugger off. Okay, go ahead.
All right, we'll quickly squeeze in a few before we wrap things up. Joshua says, if it wasn't a vacation, then why did he apologize? And again, we've talked about not an apology. What did he apologize for? Again, not an apology. The fact that they can't work out one story and or lie between them makes this all the more humorous or sad. Take your pick. Nina says, sorry, Lowell, but I'll never apologize to Trudeau because his apology is very well rehearsed.
I hope you people understand. I hope you people understand irony. Go ahead.
Let me see. Lori says, how can Trudeau say this was a mistake? Sounds like a lot of mistakes are made by him. I'm sorry. You are our prime minister. And Mike says, liberals are spending too much and the conservatives are not spending enough. Andrea Horvath and the NDP are mad at Ford for not spending enough. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. He's the only one with common sense and a brain. Carrie says people who had their vaccines in other jurisdictions like Florida can go to the health departments of their home province to register their received vaccines. If everyone does, it should give an even higher percentage of vaccinated. And Tom, Carrie's husband, says, I got a message from CVS Pharmacy in Florida that they recommend I come in for a booster shot since it's been over 180 days since my second shot of
Yeah,
Pfizer.
my daughter who lives in Virginia and her husband both of them got their booster shot some time ago. Lancet magazine, which I think is very trustworthy, it's acknowledged as one of the leading medical journals in the world, says that that the time may soon come where we will require booster shots, but that time they say is not as yet. That Pfizer and Moderna are still quite effective. Thank you all. And you know what? If you don't like me because you're an anti-vaxxer, I couldn't care less. I don't like you. Thank you all. We'll be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.